it's not $1 million question. I would have to say that's a multi-billion-dollar question. So if you look at the market size for observability and operational tooling, when that doesn't work, imagine the frustration. Now multiply that frustration by the n number of customers you have within your enterprise. Your revenue is likely going to churn. Look at those companies that become memorable for us. There will be an element of superior online service, simple, superior, and frequently innovating. And then
Right.
the way malicious actors are attacking companies, that is also changing and it's happening more frequently.
Hey guys, welcome to Better Engineering Management Podcast. And today we have with us Mr. Nik Jain. Nik has around 2 decades of experience working in DevOps, then monitoring, software development, and now he's working on enterprise observability, the strategy, design, and implementation. He's also working on AI ops and automation models for improved digital resilience. Please welcome Nik on the show. Nik, please welcome.
Thanks, Praddy. Good to be here. And thanks for inviting me to your awesome podcast.
Thank you for joining, Nik. So, Nik, let us know about your education and career journey till now.
Sure. That's a very typical question, and typical questions often make you nervous. So I'm going to start talking about my educational background, but then connect it back to why I'm doing what I'm doing as of now. So, Praddy, a lot of people don't know this about me. In terms of my background, I'm an engineer, educated as an engineer. So, I started my bachelor degree in aeronautical engineering, and then I moved to computing. And there was a
Okay.
very clear motivation as to why, I wanted that to happen. But I was quite lucky, after I got my computing degree from Swinburne University, which is an Australian university. And at that time, I didn't know, I'm going to call Australia a permanent home. I've been here for about 10 years. And I live in a city called Melbourne, quite famous worldwide for being a livable place.
Right.
And, I'll talk a little bit about my career journey as well, since you
Sure.
asked me some questions on that. But before I go there, after my bachelor's degree, I did at least 10 years of consulting. And then I decided to get a master degree. I really wanted to help engineers and particularly software engineers to transform themselves into consultants. So I thought, why not get a management degree since I had more than 10 years of experience? So
Okay.
that was a very interesting journey. About 18 months of my time was spent working with a global team on
Okay.
a project. And yeah, that was 19.
Okay.
So if it is interesting, I'll also talk a little bit about my career journey.
Sure. Please go ahead.
My first role was a software engineer for a financial services software vendor based out of
Okay.
Malaysia.
Okay.
And, I was lucky during my early days, I was working closely with the client day in, day out. So I rarely used to be in my company's office, but mostly spent all of my time on site building loan origination systems, collection management systems. And it's funny, everything I'm doing today started with that first role. So at the time when we were releasing software, we were
Hmm.
burning the code and the libraries, organizing them into directories and folders, and we will burn them onto a DVD. The
Okay.
DVD will then go, sorry, a CD, and a CD will be then provided to the data center team who will
Right.
ultimately verify the environment. They run their procedure. I'm talking about the times before CI/CD and all the sophisticated automation tooling around DevOps was made available. And
Right.
at the time, because I used to get so scared of feature releases, I built my own dashboard, which was like,
Okay.
I want to say, a very first generation monitoring software that looks into database performance, application performance, transaction response time. And I'm surprised, I'm looking from that time, we are roughly 12 to 13 years in the future, and I'm still
Hmm.
working in this space. So currently, I work for a company called Dynatrace, and we are an
Right.
intelligent observability and automation company. And my team and I, we primarily work with our account team that looks after Australian and New Zealand customers. So hopefully that's not
Okay.
too long in terms of an intro, but it's really hard to do justice with that question, if you know what I mean.
That was very interesting, Nick, because all the way from financial to monitoring and even consulting, right? So you have kind of touched in bits and pieces all around, whether it's software or whether it is kind of consulting or whether it's kind of observability. So Nick, coming back to observability, I would want to ask you, why do you think, intelligent observability matters and, even automation in that space? Why does that matter and why should founders start thinking about it?
Yeah, that's a million. It's not $1 million question. I would
Okay.
have to say that's a multi-billion dollar question. So if you look at
Okay.
the market size for observability and operational tooling, it would be an understatement if I said it's a $20 billion market. It's a much bigger market. And I think I was looking at some statistics, and the cloud market currently stands at hundreds of billions of dollars of annual revenue. Even if you were to take a fraction of that investment purely to deliver perfect software experiences, you'll be looking at a very sizable market, right?
Right. Right.
Why intelligent observability and automation is important for founders or any organization out there. Now, most organizations and founders in today's time, they're looking at software technologies as a way to build a product, provide a service to their customers in the marketplace. And if these experiences are anything less than perfect and anything less than secure, there is a high chance you're going to ditch that brand and move on, right? So, Praddy,
Right.
I want to urge you to think about the last time you booked an Uber or any rideshare service where
Hmm.
you are based, or you ordered groceries, or you tried sending money to a family member or a friend. And when that doesn't work, imagine the frustration.
Right.
Now multiply that frustration by the n number of customers you have within your enterprise as a founder or a business owner or the CEO of a large enterprise. Your revenue is likely going to churn. And if you enjoy monopoly, there will be new ways of delivering those products and services and those transactions. They're going to be introduced in the marketplace. So, rather than get into the nitty-gritties of the technology, I would
Mm-hmm.
I would want to answer it from the user standpoint and
Okay.
what it means for the user if you don't take an intelligent observability and automation approach to operations.
Okay. So what you're saying is ki, like even if there is small outage, or not even outage, if there is a kind of error which is impacting your application, if and your application has millions of users, all millions of users can be impacted within few seconds of a release, and the whole experience can be marked because of that. And this can be costly to the founder or to the organization. In today's world, where people's tolerance is very less with regard to experiences, they will immediately start thinking of kind of using another app or using another competitive app. And this can be very kind of regretful for the founders or the organization that, you know, I am losing a segment of customers because of experience, because of an error, because of an outage. And this is where you are saying that intelligent observability comes in.
Yeah, so on that point, once your application, your software that that has a decent sized user base or some user base, it gets
Hmm.
impacted, your app rating takes a dive. And that's the other important aspect that is often forgotten. If you think about app rating, it's more than just a customer sentiment score,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Around your service. Many new customers are only going to transact with you, your product, your service, if there is a good app rating. That's where everyone start their journey, right? When you're
Correct.
booking a hotel, when you're using a certain website, or you're picking a certain flight because you want to enjoy time with your family. Now,
Right.
I think it would be remiss of me if I don't talk about what else that means for
Hmm.
enterprises and owners of those enterprise or leaders of those enterprises. So when you take a traditional approach to operational management and experience delivery, and you're manually solving interruptions, outages, software problems, you're extending the time during which your teams are working extra hard, right? And when they don't have access to such tools, they are going to get frustrated. They're going to face lack of sleep. Their productivity is going to hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're exposing your business to a whole lot of risks as well.
Okay. Okay.
Right. And if you recall, I don't want to name the company because I respect every single brand out there. But there was an
Mm-hmm.
outage last year, and people were stranded at airports.
Yes,
The
I
outage
remember that.
happened for multiple days, right? And we don't want to name the
Right.
brand,
Mm-hmm.
but and I think we need to normalize that such issues are going to happen. But the ability to respond really fast, lightning fast, should
Mm-hmm.
also be normalized rather than
Correct.
taking a people approach or a traditional approach. So that's exactly what observability with the attributes intelligent and automated, that's what it brings to organization. The ability to respond and
Great.
potentially completely avoid such situations.
So next question is, Nick, in the market, if you see, there are many platforms which offer, monitoring and observability. Many of them are kind of open source also, right? And to an extent free. So my question is like, how should an organization decide what parameters they should consider when they want to kind of bring in a platform for observability into their system? What are some of the important parameters based on which they can take a call that this particular suite of services or this particular platform is good for them? If you can shed some light on that.
Yeah, that's another excellent question, and I think it's an important one for organizations out there. There are plenty of open source solutions available, and they mostly act as data collector for observability. So I think if any particular solution you pick today to onboard observability practice and even enabling a center of excellence that provides that shared observability and automation service across your enterprise, I think it would be remiss if the solution you pick doesn't support open source data collection.
Okay.
But there is a difference between using open source technologies as data collection and fully relying on open source technologies to solve the challenge that you and I we discussed in the early part of today's podcast. And again, I think you want to start by thinking, is a secure and perfect digital experience for your users a priority? Is
Okay.
that inherently a part of your core mission? If it's not, I think a open source, full blown open source solution and building a solution on top of that open source may be worth exploring.
Okay.
But if you're in the other camp, right, wherein delivering perfect digital experiences is an important part of your mission and the core product and service you have out there in the marketplace, then you want to think about buying a solution that uses open source data natively in its architecture so that you can power on automation, you can power on visibility for your engineering teams, for your business executives, even for your call center to support your customers better. I buy into that second approach.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that most of the open source tools which are available, they are good for data collection, but they are not proactive into telling you that, that they are sensing a problem can happen or an outage is going to happen because they are just collecting data. All those proactive measures will again have to do some work on top of them, kind of, write some kind of scripts or kind of make some dashboards and start monitoring it yourself. So after kind of installing all those open source tools, you again had to dedicate a portion of your team and manage, engineering bandwidth to it will be expensive anyway. And if you have a huge customer base where you don't want to kind of give them a bad experience, it's better to start thinking in terms of buying a kind of premium tools on them because they will come up with all not just with all the resilience, but all the proactive approaches and kind of all the alarms and rings and bells where they will kind of let you know that some problem is going to happen. Please take control or just revert whatever you have released.
Exactly. I feel that's well summarized. And Praddy, you can also think in terms of when you take a pure breed open source approach, you will pay with your people's time. You will
Right.
pay via the disservice or the bad service your customers are going to experience, and then the
Mm-hmm.
support procedures you're going to employ in response to those bad software experiences. Whereas
Right.
when you take a hybrid approach, you use open source data as data source for your first class observability tools that are intelligent and automated. You will pay dollars upfront, but you
Mm-hmm.
will gain better reputation, better application rating, superior customer experiences. You can focus on launching more features and leave your competition in your dust, because you'd
Right.
be launching more perfectly. Every time you have a launch, it is unlikely you are going to face problems because you've taken a
Right.
proactive mechanism and you've got intelligent AI architecture, which is going
Mm-hmm.
to exactly tell you what's problematic with the current version of your new feature, and also add a level of autonomy and make your operations closer to no operations or no ops.
That's interesting. I think all the founders should take note of this and kind of start thinking, because you don't want to put a lot of effort and then again we'll have to migrate all these kind of things to the new platform later. Why not start from the beginning and kind of at least start thinking in that direction?
Yeah, well said, Praddy. And I think there are fantastic examples around us. Look at those companies that become memorable for us.
Mm-hmm.
There will be an element of superior online service, simple,
Right.
superior, and frequently innovating. I think those will be the attributes you'll associate with them. And more recently, there is a focused hygiene
Mm-hmm.
on security as well. Is my data more secure with your brand, with your company? And people naturally gravitate towards those type of organizations, which is why if you look at the observability space, there
Mm-hmm.
was a natural unification that happened between observability and security tooling. So
Right.
right now we're looking at a transformation of unified observability and security tools, both those disciplines coming together and adding automation, contextual
Okay.
analytics, and AI on top to improve digital experiences for enterprises.
That's interesting. Uh, Like, so tell me one thing. If you see the last decade and let's say last 15 years, right, during that time span, a lot of changes have happened in the way softwares are built, right? Let's say architecture-wise, there is a microservice architecture, which is very popular, right? And deployability-wise, also there has been a lot of changes, a lot of technologies have come, right? Like Kubernetes. So how do you think all these observability platforms, right, monitoring services have kept up with those kind of architectural changes and deployment patterns? And what are the missing gaps that you still see in these platforms that needs to be, bridged?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there is no doubt that software architectures have changed, and the pace at which they are changing, that's also evolving rapidly, right? So we had traditional SOA architectures, and then we moved towards pure event-driven architectures and containerized workloads. And we're going more towards SaaS and serverless services. And many organizations are still busy digitalizing non-digital products and services. But what happened as a result is the volume of data they were working with increased, whether it's business process monitoring data, business analytics data, customer transaction data, or even system data. And then if you look at the type of services they use underneath their digital experiences and transaction, a lot more components started getting added to how
Right,
those transactions were delivered. And same way, the velocity at which changes were being introduced in front of the customers. We started continuously delivering features and releasing more frequently. So that
right,
puts pressure on traditional monitoring systems. And I think it continues to put pressure on modern monitoring systems in terms of scalability, in terms of are you just telling me a symptomatic alert? Or are you telling me the foundational root cause of why there was an outage? So I think there are systems like Dynatrace that can get you closer to your foundational root cause. And when it's possible, it can even automate and prevent an incident from happening by kicking off
Nice.
a automation script when those problems emerge. But my objective wasn't to talk about Dynatrace. It was to talk about the actual challenge as
Mhm.
architecture shifts. It's the volume of data, variety of cloud services you need to monitor,
Mhm.
and the velocity at which you are updating your user applications and systems. So that's the real challenge to keep up with.
And as per you, the observability platforms have kept up with them. I mean, they are pretty close to kind of monitoring all these services, so there's still a lot of advancements are needed in traditional monitoring systems.
Praddy, do you mind rephrasing your question?
My question is, yes, as you mentioned, there are a lot of challenges which observability platforms have to work with. But what is their state right now? Most of the observability platforms, have they kept up with these challenges, or still a lot needs to be done?
I think there's a lot, it's a moving target, right?
Right,
The rules of the game will change as the digital stack or the technology stack evolves, as customer experiences and their expectations evolve. So there's a lot of headless commerce happening. There's a lot of, most of these transactions are taking place on mobile devices, including smartwatches.
smartwatches. Right.
So you have to be able to observe all of these things, and you have to take the ability to analyze automatically and intelligently wherever those customer experiences are. So
Right.
I feel, AI is a great opportunity for companies, and
Okay.
many observability platforms are barely scratching the surface.
Okay.
And automation is another massive opportunity. How do
Right.
you proactively catch these problems and deliver better experiences? And then cybersecurity is another one.
Okay.
A lot of the experiences just don't have to do with how quickly you can transact and how perfectly you can transact. It's
Mhm.
also how securely you can transact. Is my data
Okay.
safe with you?
Okay.
And I'm not sure if you're watching the news that has been emerging. So there's deep fake happening. People are able to siphon off and attack companies by deep
Right.
faking and identifying themselves as trusted people. And then
Right.
the way malicious actors are attacking companies, that is also changing, and it's happening more frequently. So we need more sophisticated approaches to manage
Mhm.
the new complexity, if you will.
So I understand the observability platforms are pretty advanced, but still a lot needs to be done because the way target is changing, right? The way malicious softwares and malicious people are kind of aggressively, expanding themselves. The software which needs to attack them also needs to be stronger enough, right? Okay.
Exactly. And Freddy, technology is just one part. Then comes
Mm-hmm.
people. You have to
Mm-hmm.
upskill your engineers, your operational people, even executives,
Mm-hmm.
your application owners, and they should embrace better ways of doing things. But then the
Mm-hmm.
third part is, if you simply bring in a new tool and add it to your existing operational process or development process, and you don't make critical changes in your dev methodology, the way you run your software and
Mm-hmm.
operate them in production environments, then
Mm-hmm.
I think you'll be fitting an advanced engine into a
Mm-hmm.
legacy system or process.
Okay.
So I think all of these things have to keep up and
Mm-hmm.
elevate in unison. So people, process, and technology all have to be uplifted.
Sure. That's a very interesting observation. So it's not just that using new platforms will help you. You should also kind of keep upscaling yourself. The way you develop softwares, I think, with the containerization also in place, a lot of, I think security challenges have arisen there also. And, we saw this Log4j attacks. And even in my own companies, one of the startups where I was working earlier, what happened is some port was open one day. And in the morning when everybody came to office, right, on all the AWS machines, there was this message that transfer this much money to Bitcoin, otherwise all your data will be kind of corrupted and all those things. These attacks are very real. I would just like to, uh, you know, uh, put it on the record because we have suffered it ourselves. We were able to manage because we had a lot of backups and a lot of strategies. But if there is a new startup which, let's say, which have spent enough time kind of, taking a lot of backups and a lot of separation of data and their computes, machines, all those things, they can end up in a soup where people can just keep all the data and start demanding ransom from them, and everything can happen. All the bad things can happen if you're not kind of alert into this digital age.
Well said. And Praddy, Log4Shell was an interesting one, right? A lot of
Right.
companies were caught off guard. They
Hmm.
didn't have the ability to continuously scan their technology stack to find where they had vulnerable libraries, as in Log4Shell libraries.
Right.
And if you don't know where they are, you don't know how
How
to
to deal
update
with them.
them. So a lot of companies started scrambling, but there are better ways of doing these things, and you can enable continuous live insights into your runtime environments at a glance,
Okay.
right? These things are
Okay.
possible today.
Sure. So what I understand is observability is not just about kind of keeping your systems up and seeing that some microservices are down and all. Security is also inherent to these observability platforms, and the new breed of observability platforms, they are very cautious about security also, that there is some kind of attacks may be happening in your cloud infrastructure and all. And if you want to mitigate those risks, there also the observability platforms will help you.
100%.
I think don't think that is very obvious. Generally, observability platforms are thought of as something where who will send you notifications when some pods are down, when some systems are down, and when some connections are not happening, all those things. Security is not really something that people are able to quickly relate to with observability platforms, though it is important. Okay. Nick, one more question. In today's world of AI, what role do you see AI playing in observability? You mentioned something about AI ops, right? Can you kind of give us more details on those areas also?
So that was the most exciting part of my current journey with Dynatrace. And we've been doing and playing in the AI space for about 8 to 10 years. But I want to talk more broadly and generally. So a lot
Hmm.
of companies are currently focused on introducing Gen AI services within their observability platforms. But I
Okay.
think they've missed an important point. You got to first start on introducing AI into the way your platform analyzes system observability data, logs, metrics, traces, and business
Okay.
events. And then every time a degradation happens, there is a traffic light that shows, an insurance app, a government citizen app, maybe a
Hmm.
check-in app for certain flight carrier is not working. You then want to add intelligence into your platform architecture to
Hmm.
suss out what is the root cause, the foundational cause, why this service is currently exhibiting red on the traffic light.
Okay.
So the AI application to observability has three important roles to play. First, it has to provide root cause or causation behind incidents.
Hmm.
Second, it has to predict things because you want to
Okay.
become more proactive in nature. And third, it should focus on the productivity of that enterprise and its user. So that's where
Okay.
Gen AI comes into picture. So
Okay.
observability platforms have to be multimodal
Okay.
AI enabled services in nature. But the challenge is, Praddy, if you are unable to, with 100% accuracy, pinpoint the root cause of incidents, you can't automate, you can't predict with
Right.
accuracy. So that's the most important piece to solve. Once you do that, you can build automation and contextual analytics on top.
It's very interesting. I mean, I never thought about it like this actually. AI can play a very critical role because of its massive ability to kind of go through a lot of data and find patterns in it. Nowadays with LLMs and all those things, you don't even need to probably put a lot of code or brain into it. It is already kind of self-sufficient in many ways. So we have to utilize those capabilities to find out if there are any patterns, and based on that, we can go to the root cause of any issues that have happened. And as you said, it is not just proactive, it is actually predictive. It can just predict that, in future, let's say in 1 hour, services can go break because there is some pattern of something which is happening. That's very interesting.
Yeah. So capacity planning changes, cloud management changes, right? Recovery from incident becomes lightning fast and all driven by automation, which was called as self-healing, right? Back in the
Okay,
days.
right,
And then you remember the users of typical observability or monitoring systems, and monitoring is a
hmm,
legacy term, right?
right,
You're basically just providing symptomatic alerts,
hmm,
not foundational problems. You're just
right,
surfacing some signals that there is a problem with the system. Why there is a problem,
okay,
you're unable to answer. And what users were doing is they were burdened with SQL language knowledge. They needed to
right,
learn some kind of query language. But
right,
with generative AI, they can ask questions in natural language without learning any query languages. So that's
right,
possible today. But the most important part is you want to put your money, investment, into systems that are able to provide you a root cause. Otherwise,
okay.
it will become dumb intelligence, for a lack of better way to explain this.
It's interesting. So I think all the founders, again, please take note. You have to start using AI ops because the returns can be very high in terms of, what you are investing actually. And you can predict what failures are going to happen or what are the root cause behind any failures. And definitely, I think even the bigger companies, right? I think they might be already on it actually using AI ops, but I think the term is still pretty new, and there are maybe not many platforms who have started thinking in terms of utilizing AI for observability. So it's go ahead. I think good to hear that from you, Nick.
Nice one,
So
Praddy.
Nick,
And
yeah,
yeah, sorry, you
go
go.
ahead, go ahead.
I was just going to say it's the same dilemma as you have to transcend
Hmm.
a mental block, right? You remember the
Right,
time when we had horse carts.
right,
That's the equivalent of solving operations, modern operations, with people and open
right,
source, pure open
right,
source, right? Open source
right,
isn't bad, like we touched on it. Open source is a fantastic data collection and standardization.
right.
Then using AI with your observability tools and
Hmm.
putting your investment in those kind of technologies, that's the equivalent of transcending from a horse cart to an automobile.
Right, understood.
Is the same kind of. So either you can have many manual processes, many people running operations, or you can scale your existing team better and use AI observability and automatic observability as a force multiplier.
I can completely relate to it, Nick, because in my some of the companies where I have worked, right, when even outages used to happen, right, as you mentioned, people used to struggle to find out a way how to query the reasons because there are too many platforms. First of all, there is Grafana, there is Prometheus, there is AWS-based data collection, CloudWatch and all those things. And while, someone who has, let's say, 15, 20 years of experience can easily navigate through those, someone with, let's say, 2 or 3 years of experience, if he wants to find out the root cause, he can struggle a lot and he then has to go through the logs and, all the open source data that he has mentioned, whatever drafts you have made out of them, whatever, whatever it is trying to emit. To go through that is pretty time taking and you don't generally gain confidence into that kind of debugging easily. So yes, if those things can be done proactively and if you can also query these things in your native language, right, then the starting point can be made early. Even the people with lesser years of experience can start using these tools easily and make a way forward there.
Beautifully
Interesting.
said.
That would be very interesting.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your feedback and insights as well. Because I
Mhm.
think it is a data problem at heart,
Right,
not purely adoption of AI.
right,
Getting all the data in a single place and building. And once you have that, only then you can build fantastic AI data models, right? You need that
correct,
data model as a precursor. If you have four different systems, 10, 20 different systems, your AI is not going to have the right data model to begin with.
right.
And then if you don't have the right AI strategy, you're not going to
Mhm.
have the right automation strategy. So
Okay,
I think these are precursors or prerequisites for organization. First, solve the data problem, then use intelligent systems, and then solve the automation problem, and then make your
Interesting.
people more productive along that journey.
Then you will be in the state what I think you mentioned as no ops, right? You don't have to worry about ops.
Yes,
The ideal state.
this is a real case study. I'm not going to name the person or the customer, but I'll talk about the city. So I've got a customer based in Brisbane. During their yearly peak, they were about to operate their Black Friday
Mhm.
whale of user traffic, right? They were going to
Okay,
have a
right,
whale pattern in their user traffic. And the lead observability consultant and team owner, the operational lead, he went for a holiday
oh
to
my God,
Hawaii with his family. And he said that is only possible when you have deliberately designed your service to operate with a no ops architecture in mind. So
right.
once you've had that vision, then you can work backwards from there.
Then you can focus on the real business instead of worrying about all the right. So, Nick, also let us know, tell us about your this venture, Dynatrace, where you're working. You have been associated with this company for quite some time, I believe. So, what exactly does it do, and what is the differentiation that it is bringing on the table?
Yeah, that's I mean, Dynatrace, I feel super excited about Dynatrace even after 4 and a bit years of my tenure at the company. It's a very differentiated platform. And a lot of the challenges that we talked about during the earlier chats during this podcast, that's exactly what we solve for. So we want to deliver perfect and secure digital experiences for commercial and government enterprises out there. And we only focus on Fortune 15,000 companies, the largest enterprises out there, because they have more enterprise complexity. They've got technical debt. They've got a lot of legacy system. They're not
Hmm.
always pure cloud native environments. They're mostly hybrid cloud in nature. And then the
Right.
velocity, volume, variety of cloud services challenge also applies equally to those customers. Now, we to some degree enjoy uh, differentiated customer value delivery with our customers across the globe.
Right.
So I continue to feel very excited about Dynatrace. And we are attaching ourselves to unified observability and security platform delivery. And all of those use cases we talked about, right? Leveraging multimodal AI, leveraging intelligent automation, and also providing contextual analytics to technology and business teams. We do all of that. So,
Okay.
my team, we work with our customers in Australia and New Zealand, and
Okay.
I operate as the local chief technologist, or
Mhm.
my formal title is regional director of solution engineering.
Okay.
But I'm always excited to meet with customers, learn about their pain, and
Hmm.
I'm lucky to be able to work with a lot of talented people, within
Sure.
our customer success teams, within our engineering and account management team, and even I want to say, we focus heavily on culture because culture
Okay.
can be a competitive advantage as well. So
Always.
hopefully, Praddy, that gives you some view into what Dynatrace is all about. But I don't think
Sure.
I can do justice in a short response like that.
Sure. Correct. I think we have got the gist of it because what I understand is Dynatrace has a lot of capability in terms of analyzing large volumes of data because you are dealing with Fortune 15 companies. I believe anyone who is dealing with huge amount of data and they want observability on top of it, Dynatrace would be a good fit for them. And again, as you mentioned, you have a good culture there, so that's also a competitive advantage always. And I hope it does good. Nick, it was really a great conversation talking to you. We have learned a lot about, observability and particularly the AI aspect of it, how AI will be kind of at the forefront of observability and why observability and security go hand in hand, why founders should start thinking more about it, how it can be contributed towards, good digital experiences and good digital resilience. I'm sure people who will go through this podcast will find it very useful. Thanks, Nick, for joining. Any last comments you want to give, and then we can wrap up this.
Praddy, you summarized it so well. I wanted to thank you for this opportunity to have that amazing chat with you. And I like the fact that we didn't have a script. We kept it very casual, and I was able to speak my mind. So I'm looking forward to the final product, the finished and published podcast. And if anyone watching this podcast, if
Mhm.
they're facing the challenges that we discussed, the
Mhm.
enterprise or organizational challenges that we discussed during the podcast, I'll be more than happy to help them or connect them with people that can assist.
Sure, Nick. I think what I will do is I will take feedback from people, and if they have any questions and if they want to connect with you, maybe I'll kind of put a link of your profile in description or something so that they can directly also reach out to you if they have similar concerns. And thanks again for joining, Nick. And all the people who are watching this podcast, please leave your comments. Please kind of provide your feedback. And if you have any questions, do provide them also. We will kind of try to reconnect with Nick maybe sometimes later and have one more video on related to kind of content where all the questions will be resolved. So thanks all for watching. Thanks for your time. Have a nice day, Nick.
Same to you, Praddy. Thank you.